So, for today, we're going to talk about ADHD. A lot of you guys may be familiar with it because in our talks, you've mentioned being diagnosed with it when you were in either elementary school or middle school. So, ADHD stands for Attentive Deficit Hyperactive Disorder. So, what triggers ADHD? Stress, poor sleep, certain types of foods, such as foods that are high in sugar and preservatives, and or overstimulation, whether that's from hearing a lot of noises, being in front of electronics such as TVs, video games, tablets, and things along those lines. What are some symptoms of ADHD? So there are some behavioral symptoms as well as some cognitive, emotional symptoms that occur when a person is diagnosed with ADHD. So a person may experience some, but not all, symptoms such as aggression, being easily excited, constantly fidgeting, so really hard for you to sit still in a chair, easily excited, being impulsive. Some of the emotional and cognitive symptoms include being absent-minded, so putting things down, forgetting what you put down, walking into a room, forgetting why you walked into the room, having a hard time focusing, like even if you say, I'm going to pay attention, I'm going to focus in school, still finding it really difficult for you to be able to do that. Having a short attention span, like mid-sentence, like I'm done with this conversation, and you get up and you move on to the next. All right, what are some moods of ADHD? So in addition to the cognitive and behavioral symptoms, we also experience some moods, right? So some of the moods include being hyper-focused. That may look like you sitting down and doing research on something that you find exciting for hours at a time and then never coming back to that subject. Not knowing what you've done all day, feeling like you've done so much, but in reality, you haven't accomplished not one task from start to finish. Feeling lost, like you don't know what's happening. So that may look like sitting in class and having zoned out and then trying to come back into figuring out what the teacher had been talking about. Not knowing how you feel. You may feel like you feel sad. You may feel like you feel anxious, when in all actuality, you may just feel bored, but you're not sure. All of those emotions are just mixed up. And then lastly, overachieving. So you may have moments where it's like, I'm going to get everything done, I'm going to be super productive, and you do a lot within a short time frame. What happens if ADHD is left untreated? Well, it can cause some issues with your education. As we know, persons that have been diagnosed with ADHD oftentimes struggle academically, right? It can impact your ability to even write. So some people that suffer with ADHD do not have neat penmanship because they didn't grasp the concept of how to write properly. Social interactions. So oftentimes people with ADHD may come across as rude because they cut people off when talking, they interrupt people, things along those lines. And emotional health. So that goes back to one of the moods of ADHD, right? Not knowing how you feel. How do I cope with that? So what are some treatment options for a person that suffers with ADHD? Well, there's always medication, which at times can be effective. However, not everyone wants to take medication because of the side effects. So you can start by changing your diet, eating foods that have less preservatives, that are less sugary can help. Actually getting your body up in movement. So exercise is an excellent way to help with ADHD. And you can limit your screen time, right? So not spending so much time being overstimulated by so many images and bright lights. Creating a structured schedule, right? So we want to have a good schedule, but we don't want to have a schedule that is super restrictive, that you feel like if I don't follow this, I'm going to mess up. And then lastly, engaging in some talk therapy where you can get some more coping strategies in order to be able to function better.